So, you want to create a religion. For your story, of course. I do not want you to become cult leaders in real life. Or if you do, then at least give me some kind of weird status, supreme mouse or something. Anyway, let's get right to it. First things first, when creating a religion, you must decide on the number of deities a religion should have. It could be monotheistic, like, for example, Christianity or the Lord of Light from George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, or it can be polytheistic, like the ancient Greek or Roman gods, or the worship of the Loa from World of Warcraft. Whether your religion should be mono or polytheistic often depends on several different factors. These can be the world in which your story is based, like, for example, do the worshippers live in a mountainous region or by the coast? Or maybe there is a specific animal that the worshippers rely on to either harvest their crops or to move around in the world. Thinking about the deity-like importance of horses to the Dothraki here, for example. Other factors are the morals the people in your story should abide by, emotions they may have, natural disasters that have left a mark on your world in the past. Let's take a look at an example of a monotheistic religion based on the natural world surrounding its worshippers. The Ironborn in A Song of Ice and Fire, for example, live on the Iron Islands. Islands with minimal natural resources and surrounded by nothing but rough and stormy sea. The people there cannot really harvest anything on crops, so rely solely on what the sea can give them, thus, naturally over centuries, creating a special bond between them and the sea. This leads to Ironborn worshipping the drowned god, a deity associated with the sea and the storm. The Ironborn believe that when they die, they will be reborn from the sea, leading to their mantra, "What is dead may never die." Their religious rituals involve drowning and resurrection ceremonies, like when Euron Greyjoy is baptized, or basically drowned in shallow water, only to be revived afterwards, symbolizing his death and resurrection. A religion based on the natural world surrounding its worshippers doesn't always need to be monotheistic. Look no further than the lore of Azeroth from World of Warcraft. The Titans, the gods, called elemental lords into existence to shape the world and to control the chaotic elements. These elemental lords were not gods themselves, but rather incredibly powerful entities associated with the elemental planes. The four elemental lords were Ragnaros the Fire Lord, Lord of Fire who ruled over the volcanic realm of the Firelands, Too Soon Executus, that one. Alakir, the Wind Lord, Lord of the Air who controlled the skies and the winds, Neptulon the Tidehunter, Lord of Water who commanded the seas and the oceans, Therazane the Stone Mother, Matron of Earth who governed the rocky depths and caverns of the earth. Under the guidance of the Titans, the Elemental Lords helped shape the world of Azeroth, molding its landscapes, seas and skies. However, the Elemental Lords were not always cooperative, and their conflicts sometimes caused chaos and destruction. The most notable conflict occurred between Ragnaros the Fire Lord and the other Elemental Lords, even leading to the War of the Ancients. Ultimately, the Titans succeeded in shaping Azeroth into a world of great diversity and beauty, with its own unique ecosystems, races, and civilizations. What though if you want to create a religion based on morality rather than the natural world? This would be ideal for either a world with an abundance of or an entire lack of notable natural resources and or landmarks. For an example of a polytheistic version of this, let's take a closer look at the faith of the Seven from A Song of Ice and Fire, the dominant religion in Westeros that gets its name from 7 gods that are worshipped, and each of them represent different facets of the human experience and are invoked for guidance, protection, and blessings in various aspects of life. You've got the Father, that represents judgment, justice, and wisdom, often depicted as an older figure with a long beard, symbolizing the paternal authority and guidance. The Mother, that represents mercy, compassion, and nurturing, associated with motherhood, fertility, and protection, and often depicted as a loving and benevolent figure. The warrior, that represents strength, courage, and victory in battle, who is often invoked by warriors and knights seeking bravery and protection in combat. Then you've got the maiden, that represents purity, innocence, and youth. She is associated with things like virginity, beauty, and romantic love, and is often invoked by maidens and lovers seeking guidance in matters of the heart. The smith, that represents craftsmanship, labor, and industry, associated with creation, invention, and hard work, and is often invoked by craftsmen and laborers of some sort. Then you've got the crone, that represents wisdom, foresight, and guidance. And of course you've got the stranger, that represents death, mystery, and the unknown. He is often associated with the darker aspects of life, including things like death, fate, and the afterlife. He is often invoked in times of mourning and uncertainty. Spoiler alert, by the way, when Cersei Lannister is put into prison for sinning, she actually pleads to the scepter to see her son Tommen, the king, and she does this by claiming that the mercy of the mother would grant her her wish. It is possible to create a religion or a faith based on morality that is not polytheistic, such as Christianity. However, to achieve this, you do need some key pillars to help you keep the religion upright. These can either be stories that reflect certain moral values, or other godlike beings such as angels or spirits that stand for a certain moral or emotion. Another example of a religion archetype you can use are the ancient Greek gods. Whether it was Dionysos, the god of wine, Poseidon, the god of the sea, or any other of the 12 gods of the Olymp, what made the Greek gods unique, to me at least, is that each of them seemed to be almost human. They all had flaws. They made wrong decisions. They were relatable. This was used to answer injustices throughout the world of ancient Greece. The gods weren't perfect beings. They weren't flawless. A perfect example of this is the origin story of Hercules. According to the myth, Zeus desired a mortal woman and transformed himself into the likeness of her husband just to seduce her. As a result of this, the woman became pregnant with twins, Heracles or Hercules, and Iphicles. This story shows Zeus' flawed and impulsive nature, his tendency to succumb to his desires and his deceitfulness, despite being the king of the gods. Zeus is shown as being driven by his passions and willing to deceive to fulfill his sexual desires. Jealousy and insecurity are used to humanize Zeus. So, to summarize, when creating a religion, you must consider the world its worshippers live in. Is its society based on a specific resource? Does it have a close bond to a specific landmark or animal? What are the moral codes of the society you want to create? A predominantly warfaring society will have this reflected in its beliefs somehow. What does the afterlife of your religion look like? How does your religion influence the life of your world's inhabitants? Do you want your gods to be high and mighty, omnipotent beings, or do you want to make them relatable and human, like the ancient Greeks did? To make your religion believable to your audience, you must make sure it answers the following questions. Where do we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going? Let's create a religion together as an example. Imagine a world in which an eruption of a volcano destroyed a significant part of its society. It is believable that the inhabitants of that world, if they haven't evolved scientifically into understanding how volcanoes work, would then see this eruption as being the wrath of some sort of god. Let's call it the fire god. After the eruption, the inhabitants of the world can see new plants growing from the ashes, thus leading them to believe that their world was created by an eruption of the volcano, and that each eruption not only brings death and devastation, but also life and a new beginning. You could even take this a step further by creating a religion in which the worshippers of the fire god sacrifice people by dragging them up to the volcano and throwing them into its crater, thus making the reason behind life for the worshippers to be to keep the Fire Lord happy. If you pair this with either an afterlife full of fulfillment, or maybe even some kind of resurrection, then this sacrifice could even be seen as a great honor for the people. The people in your story could be arguing over who is allowed to be sacrificed. It could be seen as a way for an entire family to move up the social ladder if a member of this family has been chosen to sacrifice themselves to the fire god. If you take this even another step further and imagine a person fighting to become a sacrifice of the fire god, only for him or her to find out that there is actually no god, or that there are other reasons for the eruption, then you have a story. I hope you learned something from this video and can now go ahead and create your own story with its own religion. Oh, and one thing I didn't take a closer look at in this video is how to create a cult. In my opinion, a cult differs from a religion significantly enough to grant the creation of which its own designated video. So keep an eye open for that in the future. If you liked this video, feel free to like and subscribe and obviously stick around for more.